Let's go. Legend. 1, 2, 3, go.
Hi, welcome to the Comic Con Community Podcast, and today, myself and Paul are joined by Brandon from Blerd TV.
Hey, how's it going?
Good,
Thanks for having me.
Very good. Yeah, thanks for joining us.
You're from Kansas?
Well, I'm from Kansas City, Missouri. And so it's a weird city in that Kansas City is mainly in Missouri, and it borders Missouri and Kansas. So there's a Kansas City, Missouri, and a Kansas City, Kansas. And so yeah.
The Kansas with the DeVos with the ruby slippers.
Yeah. So that's Kansas.
That's the other Kansas.
Missouri actually is the bigger city. Kansas City, Missouri is the bigger city.
Cool. So you are Blerd TV, Blerd Comics. So do you want to tell us a little bit about that, how it all started?
Yeah. So Blerd Manga, Blerd TV, goodness. It's funny, we were just talking about this, but I'm a huge anime nerd. I'm a big anime fan, right? And me and a buddy, we were just watching anime one day, and we were talking about how cool it would be to create our own anime and create our own, manga. And I am the kind of guy that, if I get an idea that I really like and I'm passionate about, I like to do, right? Rather than just sit and talk about, oh, wouldn't it be great, and wouldn't it be great, and wouldn't it be great. I can only do too many wouldn't it be greats, right? And so I was like, I've always wanted and loved the idea that you can create any kind of world that you want, right? If you want to create a world full of upside down fish monsters, you could do that. And then after a few pages, it'll just be normal to whoever's reading it, right? It won't
they have films with sharks in space, so why not?
Exactly. So I love that idea, and I love the medium, and so I wanted to take a stab at it and create my own thing. And so I spent 2 years, actually, this was back in 2018. I spent 2 years just learning how to write. And so I was reading books and watching, these series on writing of just how do you build a protagonist, an antagonist, a power system, how do you world build, how do you build a communication system, a travel system, and then just decided to dive in and give it a shot. So
what was it about anime? Why anime? What caught your attention? What was it?
Yeah, and so I grew up. I mean, we all grew up on comics also, but I grew up on Dragon Ball Z, Yu Yu Hakusho, Inuyasha, and it was probably not too much of a standalone story. I was the fat, ugly, picked on kid, and these I could escape into these worlds where all of the underdogs, all of the the people that were picked on were like they were the thing. They became the beloved hero. And I remember being on the school bus, going to school, looking up at the clouds and seeing Goku and Vegeta fighting in the clouds, and I'm like, oh my gosh, is it real? And so just the idea of getting lost in a world and then having that actually be my escape when I was a kid, and feeling like all my nerdy friends were being picked on by all of the cool kids. It just stuck with me. It resonated, and then because I feel like I was really able to see myself, express
yourself.
Well, I think of Yu Yu Hakusho, right? I mean, Yu Yu Hakusho is this kid. I don't know if you guys have seen the show, but Yusuke Urameshi, he's a troubled kid that he's always getting in trouble. He's the bad guy that nobody likes, and then he gets hit by this car, turns into like a ghost detective. He gets these spiritual powers, and then he has to overcome like the negative perception of him as he's becoming this hero that saved the world over and over again that nobody knows about, and he actually doesn't even really want the credit for because he's just trying to chill and be left alone and not be bothered. But he saved the world when you need him to, and that just it felt like, I don't know, Yusuke was my superstar in that. Like I wasn't a big sports fan, right? I wasn't watching it. And this is, I'm not saying I don't like basketball or anything, but I wasn't watching Michael Jordan and Allen Iverson and Kobe Bryant. I was Goku.
These were your heroes, yeah.
right. And Yusuke. So that has, I don't know. It was part of who I was just growing up, and it helped. I don't know. It helped me feel comfortable. Like it helped me just be. And so
a lot of our audience will relate to that because, like you said, we're from the community comic cons. We've had comic cons. Will's a massive board game nerd. I'm a massive autograph collector, comic book collector, Funko Pops collector. So and like you said, so our audience will understand
cards,
where you're coming from.
Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
Yeah.
Our audience will relate.
Yeah, my son's just been down actually, just before the podcast started. He said, "Have we got Prime TV?" I was like, "Yeah, why?" He said, "Well, I just want to sign in so I can watch some Pokemon." And I was like, what? I've been paying for Pokemon TV for the past 6 months for you. And he was like, "Have you?" I was like, yeah, I have, yeah. And so he's just taken his laptop back to his room to watch some Pokemon. Absolutely loves it. And he's 14 next week, and he's really into his Pokemon cards. He plays the trading game, and he just loves it. Brilliant.
I just had a imaginary simulated Pokemon battle with my son, my 6-year-old, this morning. Right? It's a thing, and I love. I mean,
that's the magic about it, though, isn't it? Like you said, that you still. I fascinated because we talked about it because I said my daughter's 24 now, but like I said, when she was younger, Pokemon was still going then, anime was still going then, and it's the longevity and still like the children now. It's got bigger. Maybe I don't know because, like I said, I didn't really watch much of it, but maybe was that Dragon Ball Z that extended that to the teenage kids, or am I way off track? Or
what you mean, like the current generation right now?
Yeah, because like I said, my daughter's 24, and I don't know when Dragon Ball Z came out, but I think she just missed it, or it was like when she was teenagers or sort of stuff like that.
Well,
and then,
it
kind of lifted off, didn't it, Dragon Ball Z?
Yeah. I think the new generation right now are being more influenced by. So like my daughter is 19. So I have my daughter's 19. My oldest son, he will turn 13 on Sunday, and then my youngest son is 6. And so my daughter, her and I, she started watching My Hero Academia. Gosh, when she was, I don't know, 12 or 13. And so the younger generation that are getting into anime right now, what I see a lot of My Hero Academia, Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer is is a huge one that is taking this generation and pulling them into anime. Gosh, there is Jujutsu Kaisen. And
I've heard of that one yet.
Okay, yeah, there are a bunch of these like modern anime that are this next gen anime that are coming out. Black Clover. My son, my 13-year-old, my daughter, she got into My Hero Academia. My son, my 13-year-old, he got into Black Clover, and that just kind of sent him down this whole rabbit hole. And I was like, man, I've been trying to get you to watch stuff with me. and then I was like, well, why don't we try watching this one? And yeah, he loved it. And my 6-year-old.
So what's your favorite? What's the best you've seen? Best anime?
My favorite anime is One Piece. And so when I started writing, we're all any comic creator, manga creator, you know, we're influenced by something. And I know I'm probably jumping because that's a really logical question to ask, is what influenced you. but
Yeah.
you know, the first thing that I wrote, so in Blerd Manga, I wrote five different stories, and the core one, the main one, it's called Black Spartans, and it is we'll say it is not called Black Spartans because they are black. I was like, oh, I need to change the name because I am throwing people off. I forgot. If you name something black and then they have black people in it, that a lot of people can't get past that. But I describe it as One Piece meets Bleach meets the Witcher. What I love about One Piece, I love that it has deep lore and story building or storytelling, world building. The main character, there are a lot of like he's not Superman or Captain America, right? Of where like he's just a nice guy and he wants to save everybody because he's just a nice guy. That's not Luffy.
Sounds like Jack Ate the Boys.
He said he's like who?
Said like Ate the Boys with the guy Jack Quaid plays in the Boys TV series.
Oh yeah,
That's a comic book. Yes, he starts off being like just being the genuine nice guy.
And that's the other because he's not like he's not mean or anything. He is just the key behind One Piece is freedom. He just wants to be who he is. He wants to do what he wants to do. And if that means saving some people, then sure, he'll do that. If that means ignoring some people, then sure, he'll do that. And it's just the freedom. I don't feel like I see another character. There are not a whole lot of other characters that are just driven by being their true, authentic self, right?
Yeah.
And so that the chosen family, which is a really, really, really cheesy thing in anime, right? The main characters go around and they find these other characters and they instantly become like the best of best friends. And I feel like I resonate with that because I am not, I don't have a lot of deep connections with my blood family, but I do have a lot of deep connections with a chosen family. And the being free, shooting towards this specific goal that everybody thinks is crazy and nobody thinks that you can actually do, and ignoring all of them and finding your best friends and going to live out your dreams no matter what anybody says. Even saying it out loud, I'm like, man, this sounds so cheesy and corny, but I love it anyway.
But it works.
Yeah.
I love it anyway.
So was Black Spartans the first comic you did?
Yes, it was. Yes.
When you decided I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna do that. What did you? Because you can't just get up and write a comic. What did you do? What did you start? So did you start the writing first? Did you start getting the plot down? The epilogue, the stuff like that, the story, the background.
No, that's a good question. I came up with a concept first, right? And it's so the concept in Black Spartans is that this is monster hunting mercenaries, right? So they get paid. This is why say it's One Piece meets Bleach meets The Witcher, and so they get paid to go from this city to the next and deal with whatever mythical creature is bothering that city that day. And so I started with the concept, and then after the concept, started focusing on the world, right? And so what is it how did this world come in to be? What are the social norms of the world? What's the communication system? What's the education system? What are the taboos? What are so I started with the world. What's the power system that people operate off of, right? What's the social hierarchy? And then I created the story, right? So here's the concept, then here's the world. and then this is the actual story that is being told in this world. Which it's the way that I like to work, because we could do those first two steps exactly the same. You know, we could both have the exact same concept, and let's say for some crazy coincidence we end up building the same world. It's highly unlikely that me and you are going to write the same story in that world. You know, and so it's a fun process, because all three of them are kind of standalone, brand new things to do. And then after writing the story, you know, or during writing the story, you incorporate the you know, supporting characters. You know, because when I'm writing,
when you're creating your first, when you're saying your concept and you're saying the world, you've already got your main characters, because you've got to know who they are, yeah. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it was when I started.
Like you said, how the it generates the power of the world. What's in the world, like you said, there's cars, there's motorbikes, there's flying cars, there's flying fish, like we said, or
Exactly.
It's a yellow sun, it's a brown sun, it's a purple sun. So that's the concept of your world.
Yep. And then creating the story, and then creating the character. You know, because the story being, you know, not trying to give
if
away
it's about
all
a
the
rich
story.
man, or it's about a power man, or it's about a little kid, or it's about a dog, or it's about a
right, or it's about a group of you know, the main character is experiencing a specific challenge with a specific goal, and then going back and writing. I like to write the antagonist from the view of a protagonist, because you know, we are all the protagonists of our own story. We all are our own main character, and so writing the story from the view of the protagonist, and going back and writing it from the view of the antagonist, because I feel like when I can create a story that is enjoyable for the reader, but also creates, you know, just kind of real world dialogue of who is right and who is wrong. And when there is multiple right answers and multiple wrong answers to who is right and who is wrong, to me, like that is a sign to me that I have developed a good story, because it is something that, you know, people individually that are reading it can actually resonate with. Because the only way you can take a side is if you have a personal, some type of connection, right? If you feel like, I understand what this, you know, character is going through because I have experienced, you know, this same thing, or I see it from this same, you know, viewpoint or angle. To me, that's how I know I've developed a good story.
Well, it's same with everything, because we've had this with actors that we've had on our podcast, and we've said about TV shows and movies. People like TV shows because of a character. They get into that character. Yeah, nobody has ever watched like 3 seasons or something and gone, I don't know the character's name, or I don't know, you know. They like it because they've got into that character, and that's what's you know. And it's same with Will with his board games. There's a board game he probably likes best because he's like, that's a story. There's a story, there's a character, there's a theme to it.
Yeah.
Where if it was just a board game, you roll a dice, you go around the board that once and it's game over. It's like, what's that? Do you know, it's got to be, like say we talked about Dungeons and Dragons, that's kicking off now, you know, because of there's a story and people can tell and express their feelings and express their stories. So I bet it's the same with the comics, like you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Game of Thrones, I feel like, is a really good example, because, you know, they kill off almost all of their characters, right? But every time they kill off a character, you immediately find the new one that you like. And it's not like, oh, they killed off all the characters, but I still just like Game of Thrones. It's Game of Thrones, which might be true, except for the last season. But everybody usually finds their new favorite character that they have been resonating with.
Yeah, because I think I've had it with Criminal Minds, where I think it went to like 8-9 seasons, and then they killed the main character, the lead detective. Yeah, and it's like, well, Criminal Minds is over, but they brought it back and they brought a new guy, and you're like, oh, you know, and you're like, but it is. It's so important to have that character, though. It really
I
is.
I remember watching the first season of Game of Thrones, and when I don't feel like I can call this a spoiler considering how old Game of Thrones is, but when they killed Ned Stark, I remember sitting there with my mouth open, and I was like, well, because I didn't watch it as it came out, like it I think it was probably 4 or 5 seasons into it, and I was getting caught up, and I was like, wait, how are there so many more? See, how there's like 3 or 4 more seasons of this when they just killed Ned Stark? And so when I started watching
See,
season
now
two,
I had a different because when Ned Stark died, I went, "Oh, Sean Bean always dies." Everything is in Sean Bean always dies. So I was like, I weren't surprised. I was like, "Oh, he's dead." Yeah.
well, so I started season two, like, okay, what magic are they gonna introduce to bring back the characters? I was sure that that's what they were about to do in season two of Game of Thrones, and then when it didn't happen, it was, you know, just found a new character, and you kind of recalibrated your expectations as well.
So going back to the comics of created, like I said, so when you're writing it, do you write it all the way and then go, right, I need to split this down into, like you said, the chapters, or how long do you think a comic book should be for you?
Mhm.
I know there's a few questions here, but it's like
That's right.
it all ties in. Like because like we've been talking to other comic book artists, and we were saying about, like, me and Will's been talking about, like you can't pick up Superman issue 1 anymore.
No,
And if you're picking up Spider-Man 635, it'll start and you'll be like, where's the story? Because they've had 600 episodes before.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? In comics before. So it's very hard to find where do we start on a comic now. I know they've adapted and brought new ones out, but back in the day, like I said, if you was lucky enough to have a comic and you picked up issue 12, it'd already start and you'd be like, I've missed 12 episodes kind of
yeah,
thing. So
yeah.
where does your comic book go? Is it like this is Black Spartan, that is it, and it's going to start and end, and then maybe there'll be a next episode, so you don't have to follow it on, or
Yeah. So I'll kind of answer all of these questions. How do I start writing? I actually uh when I'm mapping out the story, I outline, so pull out a piece of paper, pull up a Microsoft Word, and outline the entire story starting at the end, right? And so,
okay,
how does this story conclude? And then what are all of the major events that happen to get, this main character to this conclusion, get this story to this conclusion? And all the way back to, okay, who's the main character, and where do they start at? And then after I outline it and all of the bullet points, or all of the critical, things, I section it up in chapters or in volumes, right? And so I outlined, it's funny because we were just talking about One Piece and how long it is, but I mapped out
it's only 10
200.
episodes, right?
Yeah, right, right, only 10 times, another 100 or something, but but I mapped out 200 chapters, and then section those up into, like, 20 different volumes, and this is all of the stuff that happens in this one, and this is what happens in this one, and this is what happens in this one. And then once that's all done, I take the first 10 chapters and I write, just in paragraph form, everything. So in chapter 1, here's everything that's going to happen down to all of the details. In chapter 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And then everything in volume, everything in volume 1, I actually go and write the scripts for. Uh, that way, I keep it succinct. Like, it keeps continuity. The story makes sense, and I'm also not. Gosh, what is the word? I'm not revamping. One of the things I like about anime and manga is that the stories are just the succinct stories in and of themselves, right? So we won't get the thing you were just talking about, Superman 1 or Superman,
25,
Man of
yeah.
Steel #1, or like we won't, that won't be a thing with Black Spartans. It is just, this is this succinct story all the way through, similar to, have you and you just talked about Amazon Prime or Prime Video. Have you seen Invincible? You familiar with Invincible?
Yeah.
Right. And so how Invincible is a singular story from beginning to end, that is that's how I focus on it. So even the other stories that I'm writing, they don't intertwine. They're not mixing with Black Spartans. It's not all in the same universe. These are singular standalone stories.
So when when you come to the artistry, do you do it yourself, or do you have somebody to do the drawing? And then, like you said, if you have somebody else, are they that character? Do you have to tell them, oh no, this character does this, the
Yeah.
details and
Yeah, and so I go through the process. I map out all the stuff. I write out all the scripts, and then work with an artist specifically to design the characters. And we might go back and forth of like, oh well, the hair like this and clothes like this, and then once we get all of the characters developed, because there are usually different artists that do character designs versus the artists that do interior actual comic art, and so I'll find a different artist to actually that I'm sending the character designs to, I'm sending the scripts to, and then we work back and forth to actually develop it and bring it to life. And so yeah,
his nose is not right.
You said what?
I said his nose is not right, his hair's not long enough,
right.
Stuff like that. Yeah.
Right.
But how difficult is it to you create that main character, and then like you say, you've got to create the side characters. So you've got to show all that love and that you've got to feel for that main character, and you've got to feel that passion for that main character and give him everything, that your soul, your everything. And then the side characters, you're like,
No, so kind of going back to my other comment earlier, everybody's the main character of their own world, right? And so even when I'm writing, side characters, they still have their reasons, their passions, their motivations for doing whatever they're doing, being engaged in the story, however they're engaged in the story. And so when I'm developing a side character, I'm also focused on, who is this character? What are their motivations? What's their personality? What are their strengths and weaknesses? Do they like to play chess? Do they like to cook? Do they care about fashion? Do they like to dance and sing? Come up with the personality of this character, and then figure out, okay, well, what is their role in this world, and what is their role in this story? And I feel like that is how you get, really really compelling side characters that become people's favorite character, even more so than the main protagonist. And it's one of the kind of going back, it's one of the things that I feel like One Piece does extremely well.
you never know which character the audience is going to fall in love with, are you?
Right.
Like you said, One Piece, I don't know how many characters there is, but let's say there's 6. Not everyone's going to like that person, that person, that person, that person. Everybody will have the favorites. They'll always have the favorites.
Right.
So what did you make of the TV adaptation, the actual, the live action?
The live action One Piece, man. I really like the live action One Piece. There are not a lot of anime that have been adapted to live action that has gone really well. But the live action One Piece, I mean, they did it right. They had the original writer involved in the process. They definitely did not rush this. They clearly had a very high budget to do it. And so the special effects and it's great. And then capturing the essence of the story. There are One Piece is it's 1,200 episodes, right?
Yeah.
And so when I'm going back and watching the live action, they're starting from episode 1, and so there are all of these like really important, story moments that are kind of emotional and like I remember when they resonated with me when I watched it, and seeing how those have been adapted to live action, and that they still carry that same emotional weight. I know it's fun. I just finished, season 2 of the live action One Piece just came out, and I finished that, and I'm probably gonna go back and watch season 1 and 2, over again, just because I'm excited. I'm excited for it.
Do you think it's hard to actually adapt from, like you said, from anime to the TV like live action? Because, like I said, there is some. Like I said, I've not watched Dragon Ball Z, but I've seen a few posters and pictures, and there's a few funky characters, the funky hair and stuff like that. So to
Oh
adapt
yeah,
that to a live action.
Dragon Ball Evolution was that live action
Oh, right,
adaptation.
okay.
Is it hard? Yeah, I think it is hard,
It
especially for
just
something
reminds
like
me of
Dragon
Street
Ball.
Fighter, with the
Yeah,
hair and the.
but the challenge with that, they were just lazy and kind of rude. I mean, they changed the story. They just changed stuff, and so kind of going back from a business standpoint. More than likely, they thought that and probably was true. The name recognition and brand of Dragon Ball would pull out enough people that they would make a bunch of money on it. And I didn't look at the numbers. I don't know if they did make I don't know if they made money or lost money on it, but it seems like that's what they were going for rather than actually telling the story for the audience that loves this, IP. And One Piece, their focus clearly was on the fans, like telling this story in the way that the fans know and love it, versus just saying, "Hey, this is One Piece. We know you guys like One Piece," and then just telling this whole other crazy story that has nothing to do with the actual series, like they did with Dragon Ball Evolution. That was yeah, that
Well,
was
not being funny, but they've got 1,200 episodes to
yeah.
pick from, haven't they? They've not got 20 episodes to pick from and try and make it right. They've got 1,200, so.
Yeah, yep, yeah. And then you guys probably know this already, but One Piece just passed up Superman as
Oh, right, okay.
the most sold comic of all time. Like,
Wow, I didn't know that.
yeah,
No.
yeah. One Piece recently passed Superman in the amount of comics that it
Is
is.
that because of how much comic books I know?
You said what?
Because don't forget, I say, is that because of how much comic books I know? Because don't forget, there was only like 5 cents when Superman came out.
I don't know, maybe, but I know.
Yeah.
I mean, Superman came out in what the 30s, 40s,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Like
I
one
mean,
cent, 1 cent. I think I seen the first one was.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's and it didn't beat it. I don't know. I don't know if it beat it in revenue, but I know it beat it in the just the amount of
Yeah, what
units,
was
the
sold.
amount of units
Yeah,
sold. Which you know, with One Piece coming out in the 80s, that it's kind of I don't know. It's kind of crazy. Kind of crazy.
So what was the first comic book you picked up as a kid? Can you remember?
Yeah, I was looking at that question, and I don't remember like the first comic book that I picked up as a kid. Uh,
Because
the
we had like Beano Dandy over here. It was very hard to get like the
Yeah.
Supermans
You
and the
couldn't get anything
Spider-Mans and
good.
the Iron
Yeah.
Mans. No,
Oh
the
yeah, that
Avengers.
actually makes a
No,
lot of sense.
and that's what I was saying to you when we got it in our like comic book shops, which we had very very little comic book shops, especially where I lived. You'd be on episode 300 of Superman or episode 400 of Superman. It
Yeah,
wasn't. So we had, like I said, we had stuff called Beano Dandy,
yeah.
Desperate Dan and stuff. So don't know if
I
you've
mean,
ever heard of them, but yeah.
no,
We never,
I have not.
yeah, we never got like the Avengers, the cool stuff, the Superman, the Batmans, and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
the funny one of the first comics I remember reading is an Incredible Hulk comic, but I don't remember what it was. I remember the character of the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I was also uh I was a short-tempered kid.
I think we've all got a bit of Hulk in us somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I remember really, I don't know if that was the goal, but I remember really liking the Incredible Hulk, because I mean I'm a short-tempered kid, and it's a bad thing, to be short-tempered. But here's this hero who's his superpower is his temper. The madder he gets, the stronger he gets. And so it was cool. Cool.
So
But
when you
I
was
don't
picking up,
know.
like you said, when you was picking up the Hulks and probably like you said the Supermans and the Batmans, what
Yeah,
was it that actually, like you said, when you got that first anime one, and then we went, no, this is me, not the Superman, not the Batmans. It's
yeah. I mean, the first anime that when I was like, this is me was, I mean, it wasn't even picking up something and reading it. It was just watching Yu Yu Hakusho. And so
right.
I mean, Yu Yu Hakusho is it's the anime that I have seen the most times, right? I think it's maybe 200 episodes, somewhere around two, or maybe just a little bit under 200 episodes of Yu Yu Hakusho. And every few years I'll just start it over from the beginning and just watch it. Just watch it. I like Yusuke's journey and going from who he was to who he ended up becoming. And even the way that it ended, the first time I saw it, the way that it ended, I didn't really love. But as I got older, I understood all he really wanted to do was be left alone, and he ended up being able to just be himself and be left alone. It was actually really, as an adult, it's a it's a
Yeah.
cool. As a kid, you're like, I want to see more. Like, what's going on? But as an adult, it's like, oh, yeah, he's
You're
earned that. He's
appreciating it.
really
You're
earned that.
appreciating it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how hard is it to make it as a comic book writer? You know, you've got to, like you said, you've got all that time, you've got to write everything, get everything together, and then you've got to bring that person in to understand and say, yeah, this is it. And, you know, get them to love your work really into it. That's what it's about,
Yeah.
really. You've got to convince them that, you know, this is real, this is me,
Yeah.
this is
I do think that if you get into it, the goal cannot be to make it, right? Like
yeah.
the goal
Oh no,
has
there's
to,
never an
right.
end. I've made it, that's it, done. I'm done.
Well, yeah. I mean, but so kind of when I started writing the story, right? And so first coming up with a concept and then coming up with the world and building the world and then writing the story and then doing the backstory for the main character and the antagonists and the side characters. Just at that point, I was like, man, it was such a fun experience. And then I actually wrote the scripts and gave the scripts to an artist, and then they sent me back just the layouts, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is coming to life. Like these are these words and ideas that I wrote. Now they're actually coming to life. And then I was like, yeah, I love the layouts. And then he sends me back, the clean line art, and then he sends me the colors, and then he sends me the letters. And I'm like, man, I have created this thing and I'm literally watching it come to life in front of my eyes. It's crazy. You're sending the scripts over and getting the line art back and getting the layouts back. Watching that process come to life in front of my eyes, I told myself that if I never sold a comic to anybody, that I would be fine with that, right? Because this experience by itself was fun. And then, you know, part of the other thing that what is my day job? My day job, I teach people how to start, grow, and scale businesses, right? And I run a nonprofit. And we have this whole business center where we teach people about business, because then the comic is the product that is being sold, and everything else is just how do you build business systems, how do you build customer acquisition systems, how do you build logistical delivery systems, how do you build these financial management systems, how do you build these systems. And that part is also, I mean, because of what I do, it was also very, very fun for me. I enjoy it. It's a completely different part of my brain, but I enjoy it a lot. And so, I will, the question of how do you make it as a comic book writer is really the same for every entrepreneur. How do you make it as an entrepreneur? How do you make it as a
Yeah.
business owner? You have a quality product that people want, and you solve the problem of why they might want to get it, right? And if you're looking for authentic, stories, you're trying to, nobody picks up a comic wanting to hate it, right? We're all looking to find our next favorite story, 'cause I say, hey, Paul, you should be reading this, and then you read it. Oh, thanks, Brandon. Now next time I recommend something, you might listen to it. you might take my recommendation even more. And so just understanding how to build good systems and serve customers.
Well, I think every writer we've had on, I think, are all saying the same things. Of like I said, we always ask, "What's the best advice you'd give?" And I think you just give it there, because you got to have love for it, haven't you? Like you said, it's not about I'm going to make millions, I'm going to be famous, I'm going to be this. You got to be, like you said, just getting that concept back, getting that boarding back, getting the drawings back, and going, "Oh my God, I created this."
Yeah. It really is it's a fun thing, man. I was telling somebody the other day that I feel like I created an anime that I have been able to watch over and over and over in my head myself. And I'm like, man, I can't wait to get this out to more people so that they can see it. And then, because Blerd Manga and Blerd TV, the goal with creating stuff in manga and getting those out to people, and the ultimate goal of turning everything that we do into actual animation, so that people can watch it. And we have our YouTube channel up, and so when we animate it, we're gonna put it on YouTube so people can watch it for free, and just enjoy it, and hopefully love it the same way that we do.
So where can people get your comics?
Blerdmanga.com. Go on there. We ship everywhere. I mean, I actually, every time we do a Kickstarter, there's like 5 or 10 people in the UK that I ship to, and so it's
so we ship worldwide.
Yeah, we do. Yes,
Excellent.
we do.
And
I don't even know how they found me. I was excited. I was excited to be shipping, all over the world.
So where's your YouTube channel? Same again, Blerd TV.
Yep, Blerd TV official on YouTube, and then you can find us on Instagram, blerd.tv. And so Blerd TV and Blerd Manga is what it shows up as on Instagram.
So we will put the links up on the podcast so people can click them and check out Brandon's work, buy a comic, and see what it's all about.
Just a question from me. This wasn't. I just thought of it earlier when you were talking about like creating your world and creating the story and everything. Have you ever thought about like turning that into a role playing game, a bit like D&D? But
oh my god, I gotta find the document. But
he had to get a board game.
I did because I play D&D a lot.
I created a one shot. I created a D&D one shot for Black Spartans.
Amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah, I did.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, I'm a D&D. I am a D&D fan.
Excellent.
I am. My and I know we probably ran out of time, but I'm sorry. But my favorite.
No, it's okay. Hey, we're talking about D&D. We've got all night.
Yeah.
The rules change.
And so I mentioned earlier that I teach people how to start, grow businesses. Is what I do at in my day job. And I often get criticized, or not criticized, made fun of for taking everything and turning it into a business. Like, I love anime, and it's like, well, of course you got to have anime and manga business. And so I'm playing D&D, and we stumble into this cave of goblins, and my party wants to attack it. I'm like, hold on, wait. Let's just talk to them. Like, they might not even be hostile. Let's figure out what's going on.
Let's offer them a biscuit. Yeah.
And so we start talking, and this was a homebrew thing. So I feel like we kind of went off the rails. But the goblins were in this cave, and they were mining this magical ore. And we got enough favorable rolls. We found out that they were hiding out because the people from the village felt threatened by the goblins, and so they were just trying to stay there and be safe and be protected. And so I was like, well, what if we take some of the ore and we take it into town and we sell it, and then we bring you guys back, some food and some money. And they agreed to that. And so then we ended up creating a whole system where like 2 of us would stay behind and then 2 of us would go to the city, and we would just kept doing it. So we created a whole business.
Your own business model.
The game has just turned into a business now, a transaction.
It did. I was like, oh my gosh, we have accidentally become massively rich.
I'm selling stuff to goblins. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
So
the most quintessential D&D thing happened after that session. None of our schedules aligned.
Yeah, you've not played since. Yeah. I know that story.
But we haven't picked it back up since.
That's a shame. But no, I mean, it'd be great to get hold of a copy of the one shot once it's out there. I run it twice a week, so I'll happily put it in front of my players and give it a go.
Yeah, absolutely. I graded a couple of years ago, and then I couldn't get anybody, that would actually do it. So I'll find it. I'll go through my files. I'll find it and see if I can shoot it over to you.
Cool. That'll be good. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, I'll be excited about that.
Perfect. So we like to end the show with I have a bucket here, the Guardians of the Galaxy bucket.
Yes, sir.
And there's random questions that you've probably never been asked in your life, mate. Honestly, they're not from me. I always say it. They're from the universe. So they're from a different planet, mate. So
you can't.
That's all right.
You know about different worlds, so you can't blame me what goes on here.
Yes, sir.
So we just 5 random questions, just straight answers, yes, no, whatever it says, basically.
Okay.
So we've got what would be your wrestler's name?
What would be my wrestler's name? The Colossal Hammer.
Sorry, I thought you was going to go with your comic book.
Yeah, so
no. The Colossal Hammer.
That's a good one.
Makes sense.
What's your favorite takeaway food?
Sushi.
Oh, good
one. I like.
I'm a big sushi fan. Yeah. Question 3: tacos or burritos?
Tacos. I'm actually planning on getting tacos right after this.
No, it's Taco Tuesday. Of course, it's Tuesday.
Yeah.
It is Taco Tuesday. Question 4: are you a city or countryside? Do you like to live in the city or a countryside man?
Do I like to live in the city or countryside? I'm an introvert, so I like to stay inside. So it really doesn't matter where I am. It really doesn't matter where I am.
Yeah, but city's very noisy, isn't it? City's very noisy. The countryside's very quiet.
Yeah. So I might lean towards countryside. I know my girlfriend would much rather prefer a city. So,
so last question. A pet dragon or a pet unicorn?
Pet dragon. I didn't even. I almost cut you off after you said pet dragon. Or I don't need to hear that. Yeah.
Well,
but I did play while I was playing Hogwarts Legacy. I caught 2 unicorns because they were so rare, and then I started breeding them, and then started selling the unicorn eggs. So
he's visiting unicorns now. Yeah, he's visiting unicorns now.
I became a unicorn breeder.
So don't play games with Brandon, guys, because he'll turn it into a business.
I'll come to you if I need any business.
He'll be selling your organs and everything on the black market.
Well, no, not that.
Anyway, mate, it's been a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you for joining us and doing this. We really do appreciate it. Good luck with your comics. Good luck with Blerd TV, and we look forward to seeing what you do in the future, mate.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys, responding and having me on. And this is just a fun chat. And so, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, mate.
Cheers.
Cheers. Yeah.